Hello everyone, good evening. Welcome to my YouTube channel and please to hit the like button which gives me encouragement to do more videos for you all, and please subscribe my channel and share it among your friends. So today I am going to explain you the short story Chief Seattle Speech 1854. Who was Chief Seattle? Chief Seattle was a public leader, the chief of the Native American Red Indians, Squamish and Duwamish tribes. The American city Seattle is named after him. He is especially known for his speech, or sometimes refers to as letter, delivered in 1854. This speech was a response to the American government's land treaty to buy the native lands proposed by Isaac Stephens, the government of Washington Territory. Seattle's speech is regarded as a powerful plea for respect of Native American rights and environmental values. Seattle criticized the white people's imperialistic attitude and their way of reckless developments affecting the natural environment. In fact, it was one of the earliest instances where someone expressed great concern over the degradation of nature and ecological balance. He warned us against the rapid progress of Western civilization and pitched for the need to protect nature. And that is why Chief Seattle's speech is acclaimed with very high esteem everywhere in the world. One important thing to know is that Seattle delivered the speech is in native language, which is known as Luhutsit, and it has been translated and rewritten by several authors hereafter. Therefore, the authenticity of the available text is not confirmed. The oldest available record of the document is Henry A. Smith's transcript, published in the Seattle Sunday Star in 1887. But modern critics see it as a flowery Victorian prose far from the original speech of Chief Seattle's speech. Now I'm going to tell you about the characters in the prose. First is President Franklin Pierce. He was the 14th President of the United States. He sent a letter to Chief Seattle. Next is Governor Isaac Stephens, Commissioner of Indian Affairs for Washington Territory. He held a meeting to discuss the surrender of the land by the Native Americans to the white settlers. It was held on 11th March 1854 in the city of Seattle. Paleface, they are the white settlers, and Red Man, they are the Native Americans. And now we come to next, he is George Washington. The natives thought that he was still alive. So is that the speech Chief Seattle referred to him as great, good and big chief. Now I am going to go to the summary of the poem. Yonder sky that has waved tears of compassion among my people for centuries untold, and which is to as appears changeless and eternal may change. Today is fair, tomorrow it may be overcast with clouds. At the very beginning of the speech, Chief Seattle expresses his concern over environmental degradation and its possible impact upon human civilization if we do not take immediate measures. According to him, nature has been a great sympathizer for the native people for a long time now. Nature has given them everything they need to live on the earth. He fears that though this condition seems to be eternal and changeless, it may untimely change. Human civilization may face great trouble in future if we do not respect these environmental values that is given to us by God or nature. The things that nature has given us. Then the speaker ascertains his reliability by comparing his words to the stars that never change. So he will not change his stance in response to the government's proposal of a land treaty with the natives. The white chief that is the governor, had arrived with the proposal and the message of friendship from the big chief, the president. Seattle says that it is a kind of them to offer the natives their goodwill and friendship because he knows that the government has no need of the natives' friendship in return. Seattle speaks of the deplorable condition of his people. He remembers that once they had filled the entire country, but now there are only few people left in their tribes. They are on the verge of an extinction. So actually they don't need the vast land anymore. And for this doom of the Red Indians, Seattle mainly accuses the white people's act of forcing their way into the native lands. The white people regard themselves as superior and supreme, and they do not respect the tribal people's land culture and cultural values. Seattle also criticized the reckless manners of the young men of his own tribe. According to him, the youth should be more sensible and responsible. Seattle says the president has offered to protect the native women, children, and the old man from the attacks of their old outside enemies like the Hydias and Simetians and Simshitians if they agree to the land treaty. In that case, the president would really be their protector, their father. But he doubts if that will be ever possible. According to Seattle, there is so many cultural differences between the white Americans and the native Red Indians that a union or a mutual understanding between the two looks unlikely. It can never happen. After all, they are two distinct races with separate origins and separate destinies. The white people have received all the love and care of God. The tribal people have been deprived of the love, guidance, and protection of God. And finally, they came to this meager existence. The native red people of America live closer to nature than the white people. They love the beautiful aspects of nature and understand the importance of maintaining it. To the tribal people, the ashes of their ancestors are sacred, and they visit their resting ground to show their respect for those. But as Seattle complains, the white people have no feeling for their ancestors. They wander far from their graves. They wander far from their graves without any regret. So that is the big difference between the two races, the white settlers and the native Red Indians. Again, the white people don't seem to love the country anymore after they die. So they never visit their people and places again. But the tribal people never forget this beautiful world that gave them being and continue to visit their loved ones to guide, console, and comfort them. Seattle even says that the white people's religion, that is Christianity, is written upon stones so that people never forget it. It is not felt by heart. They do not do any kind of art. They do not do any kind of work from within their heart. They are heartless people. Their religion upon stones, so their religion is somewhat artificial and mechanical, as they have no respect for the environment and for their ancestors. But the native people's religion is the traditions of our ancestors, the dreams of our old man. The chief prepares his people for their impending doom by saying that no one will be spared from the hands of time, death, and decay. Death is a common destiny that the white men also have to face one day. They cannot also defy that. Death will come to everyone. Anyway, Seattle says that he may still agree to the government's proposal, but the natives should be allowed to visit the resting grounds of their ancestors. But should we accept it? I here and now make this condition that we will not be denied the privilege without molestation of visiting at any time the tombs of our ancestors, friends, and children. He wants again the president to be just and deal kindly with his people. He believes that death is just a change of worlds, and the spirit of the natives will still be there after their death to take revenge if they are treated badly. So guys, today I have told you the whole summary of the piece Chief Seattle speech written in 1854. Now if you have any doubts or you want to take the notes, you will see in my description box given below. For today, so please check everything in my description box. For today, it's bye bye from me.